Oh, there it goes.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the live Start Sit Show with the Fatboyz for week 4 of your NFL season. Brent, I'm excited to be here. Every Sunday feels like Christmas morning. I can't wait to sit all day on the couch, eat good food, watch football per the usual. Sundays during the NFL season are just about my favorite season as a fat man.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Sunday. It's relaxing day. I know I've had some crazy past 2 Sundays with other things going on, but I'm super excited for this week. Unfortunately, my Seahawks play on Monday, so I have to wait a whole day of football before my Hawks play. But we got a decent little lineup this week, and I'm super excited to sit here this week and enjoy some fantasy football and real
Absolutely.
football.
It's always nice when your team doesn't play on Sunday, because then Sunday you can just spend the entire day vegging out, just caring about fantasy football, not wearing your emotion on your sleeve as your NFL team plays. That's definitely a good feeling. So you will definitely have a relaxing Sunday, Brant. All right, we've got our first question coming in via the way of Justin. He says, Lad McConkey or Cortland Sutton today, Brant? So Sutton's got the Jets in a game that's got 39.5 point spread, whereas McConkey has the Chiefs in a 41.5 point spread.
I'm going with McConkey here. Bo Nix is struggling under pressure. I saw a stat this morning, and I wish I would have wrote it down, but he is like 4 of 13 under pressure this year with like 2 interceptions. And Pittsburgh's going to, and you said they got Pittsburgh, right?
Negative. They have the Jets.
Either way, they're going to bring the pressure with their front offensive, with their front defensive line. Sorry, food was delivered to me. So I think I'm going to have to go with McConkey. I don't think Sutton's going to be able to get too many targets this week.
Okay. So just going off of the targets alone, I'm going to go Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton has 10 more targets over the last 3 weeks than Lad McConkey does. Cortland Sutton had 12 targets week 1, 4 week 2, and 11 last week. He is Bo Nix's safety blanket. So between the two, I will go Lad right now. To most people's surprise, not mine, I'm going to toot my own horn real quick. Toot. Quentin Johnston is the guy to own, it looks like, at this point in Los Angeles. So I will go Sutton as the one with the volume over McConkey.
Okay. All right. Next up, Dickie asks, Rashid Shaheed or Rashad White in full point PPR. I'm going to go with White. I know it's not safe. I know it's not pretty, but Shaheed could give you a goose egg like we saw last week. So I think I'm going to go with, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. If Chris Olave is ruled out, I'm going to start Shaheed. I know he was questionable, but Rashad White, I'm going to go with. I know it's not the prettiest thing there in Tampa Bay right now with the way that backfield looks, but I think I'm going to start him.
I'm going Shaheed in this one, Brant, because right now Rashad White is expected to play, but he's dealing with a food poisoning situation. That may not keep him on the field all that awful much. You don't want a guy who's having to run to the bathroom while the Buccaneers are on offense. So, yeah, I knew Rashad White was questionable this morning, too. I wasn't sure with what. I hadn't went and looked yet. But, yes, it's food poisoning. He's expected to go. I'll go with Rashid Shaheed. I think it's These guys are both low floor plays. I don't think Rashad White's been that safe this year. So based on his injury or his illness, I'll go with Shaheed.
Okay.
Tony says Jaden Reed or Ramondre Stevenson in full point PPR and the flex. So you've got the Packers against the Vikings and the 49ers against the Patriots against the 49ers. Brant, are you sitting Ramondre Stevenson this week against the Niners defense?
I am going to sit him. Reed gets Jordan Love back. I know he may not be 100%, but in the 5 starts that Love's been under center and Reed's been on the field together, it's only been 5 times that we've got to see this. Reed averages 86 receiving yards with him. So I like the fact that Reed and Love are both on the field again today. So I'm actually going to start Jaden Reed. I've been trying to find a way to get him into my lineups, but it's been a little rough with the receiving core that I have in that league.
Yeah, I think traditionally, if you ask me who I'd rather have over the course of the season between these two, I'm going to take Ramondre Stevenson. But on weeks when the Patriots are going to play from behind the whole game, where they're not able to dictate the flow of the play, I think Ramondre is a bench because Gibson's a better pass catching back. So I will go Jaden Reed as well in this one. I'm going to read this one for Brant since he's got a mouthful of food. Fat boy, he couldn't wait. Kevin says, good morning, y'all. Pick 2 and half-point PPR. He's got Xavier Worthy, George Pickens, or Jameson Williams. Before the show started, Brant, I brought up the fact that I think George Pickens is a must start this week. The Indianapolis Colts, who the Steelers are playing this week, are giving up the most receptions and yards to first read passing options from the opposing team. George Pickens is obviously the first read in that Steelers passing game, even if they don't pass often. So give me all of George Pickens this week. I look for him to have an explosion. And then as far as Xavier Worthy and Jameson Williams, to me, this one, Brant, is a coin flip. They both don't get a whole lot of touches, and they're both explosive with the ball. So, Kevin, for me, I'm going to go – Jameson Williams on this one just because it's a Monday night contest, just to give you that holdout hope. And the Seahawks Lions have the tied for the second highest point total of the week. So I think there should be a decent amount of offense in that one. So I'll go JMO as the other one.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm going the same route. I'm sorry. There were hot cinnamon rolls that got put in front of me. I apologize. So
no, you don't.
I don't. George Pickens and Jameson Williams are my pick. I think Williams finds the end zone this week against Seattle. They're going to plan to go and try to smother the number 1 target there. And without Laporta, it's a little easier with being able to shift the defense onto St. Brown. So, and Pickens, like you said, he should be due for a good week and for a good one there. So I'm going to go with Pickens and Williams.
Okay. All right. Now that you're able to read again, I'll turn this one to you.
Kevin asked, do you think CEH is worth picking up, possibly coming back next week? I do. I think it might be a 2-week time frame, but I do think he is worth. Steele looked very good in the time that he did. I'm not going to say he looked great, but I think he is definitely worth a pickup. I mean, you got to remember he was a first-round draft pick. Steele was an undrafted rookie, so I think I would be grabbing him.
Excuse me. Yeah, I think Brant's right here. I think he's fair enough to roster. If you've got a deep bench and it doesn't hurt you, you don't have to drop anything of value to pick him up. It wouldn't be a bad idea to get ahead of that. Maybe with Carson Steele and Samaje Perine being the guys, there's a chance that he comes in, and goes straight back to being fairly relevant this season. So yeah, I think it's worth a roster. Tony says, how confident are you guys of playing Debo this week if he's active? I'm starting him if he plays. If he's active, I'm playing Debo. No McCaffrey. I love Debo's role without McCaffrey.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of in the same boat here. I wish he was inactive one more week so I could start Jennings in this league, but he's not. So I would start him. He's obviously healthy enough to play. I mean, they're 2-1? No, they're 1-2. So they're not really panicking too much. So I would start him if he's healthy.
Yep, we're in agreement there.
There it is, New England. Yeah, and they play New England. So Ryan asked, be Strange or Kobe Parkinson? This one's a little tough one. Parkinson's been one of the best targets for or been one of the guys that gets targeted for the Rams ever since the two wide receivers went down. And Strange has been, 9 points back-to-back weeks since Evan Ingram's missed time. I think I'm going to go with Strange just because I think it's more of a safer play that that he's going to get targeted. This game is going to be a good little game with lackluster defenses. I don't want to say great or bad defenses, but they're not the greatest. So this game could end up being a very high-scoring one. So Strange could end up finding the end zone, and he's been very consistent without finding the end zone.
How strange is it that we're going to be on the same page here? I'm going Brenton Strange as well. The last 2 weeks he was tight end 9 and tight end 8 against two pretty good defenses. So I'm going to roll with Strange again this week. 6 targets, 5 targets. Definitely a guy who Trevor Lawrence has started to look at as of recent. I like Brenton Strange, and I'm going to talk about him a little bit later as the show goes on too, Brent.
Okay.
Bill says Tyreek Hill or Brandon Ayuk and PPR.
So I'm going with Tyreek Hill here. They got Huntley under center. Huntley can really sling the ball. I'm not going to say he's the most accurate thing when he passes downfield. He also uses his legs. But I think Tyreek Hill, he's a guy that can turn. I mean, I know Ayuk can too, but Hill's a guy that's going to have to be targeted. I think he had 4 targets last week after I looked. He's going to have to be targeted more with the banged up quarterback situation. So I'm going to start Ayuk or Hill.
Yeah, I'm going to play Tyreek as well. Listen, I know it's not been sexy, but Tyreek is that guy that, he could take a 2-yard slant route to the house. So you gotta start Tyreek when you roster him. That was a whole lot of fat really close to the camera. But yeah, you got to start Tyreek when he's in your lineup or when he's on your roster. I think granted Ayuk is a great pivot, but especially with Huntley under center, I'm starting Tyreek Hill this week.
Okay, absolutely. We're going to ask McBride. With no McBride, options are Schultz, Muth, Conklin, Ertz, Gesicki, Higgins, or Parkinson. So you're in the same boat I am.
What about Isaiah Likely right up front there? You skipped right over him.
I thought it said Likely Schultz. Man, I want to say Likely. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Likely. He's got the huge upside. I think I'm going to go with Likely. He scares me a little bit, but I think that's the best start here.
See, I want to look at Pat Freiermuth a little deeper, Brant, because I feel like Pat's having a somewhat decent year.
Yes, he's having a quietly good year. I think he's number 11 last time I looked.
Tight end 13 currently with no touchdowns on the season. You got to assume that changes at some point. Do I think that changes this week, though? The other option you could start is Tyler Conklin, who's coming off of a tight end 4 week this week. Give me Mike Gesicki, Brant. I like the Bengals passing game. That's not either of the two I just looked at. Give me Mike Gesicki this week against the Carolina Panthers. That defense has been very soft, very susceptible to giving up big plays. I don't think that necessarily changes this week, even if Andy Dalton keeps the offense more relevant. Give me Mike Gesicki. I want to own somebody on the best offense that's listed there, and that is Mike Gesicki, in my opinion.
Okay.
Follow-up question, Flex 2 PPR, Juwan Jennings, Khalil Shakir, Trey Tucker, Greg Dortch, Michael Wilson, or Tajay Spears, Brant? Which 2 do you like in this one?
I'm flexing Shakir. He's been one of the safer options there in Buffalo. If Debo's out, I'm going Jennings. But if he's not, I think I go with Tajay. Hang on. Arizona has Washington. Tennessee has the Raiders, I think.
Raiders and Browns.
Tennessee, it's Miami. Duh. I think I go with Spears. I think I go with Shakir and Spears. But if Kittle or Ayuk are out, or I'm sorry, if Debo and Kittle are out, I go with Jennings.
I'm going Trey Tucker because Devontae Adams is already out. And last week against Carolina, he's coming off of a wide receiver 8 finish. So I'm going to go with Trey Tucker. And then I'm going to stay copacetic with Brant and go with Shakir. So Brant says Jennings if Debo's out. If Debo's not out, Brant, what do you think theirs? Or is it still Jennings for you?
No, now that you reminded me that Adams is out, I was reading something out. But yeah, so it would be Tucker and Shakir if Debo's not out. But if Debo's out, I'm going with Jennings.
Okay.
I just came across Jair Alexander will be out today against the Vikings. He was questionable leading up, but he will now be out.
Oh boy, now Justin Jefferson's going to be a must start in fantasy or something.
No, because actually I also saw today that Jair does not travel. They've only went head to head 5 times in their 5 matchups. Mm-hmm. So actually, the wide receiver 2 might be a little more interesting there in Minnesota. So Yusef says I want to play Ford, but I don't see starting him ahead of Ramondre or flexing him over Deontay. I'm not flexing over Deontay. That was crazy, the turnaround last week. You and me have talked about how good Johnson is and how good he can be. So Johnson's a must start in almost all my lineups going forward. I'm not starting him over Ramondre Stevenson either. I like Ramondre too much to pull it back. I know they do play the Niners, but I don't see myself being able to start him over start Ford over him.
Okay, I am going to start Ford over Ramondre this week against the Niners. Ford's got a banged up Vegas team this week, which I think I even read Max Crosby might be on the injury report this week and maybe playing a little slower, which I like Ford even more because of. So I'm going to say start Jerome Ford in this contest. This is a gritty matchup. Whereas I think 49ers could put the Patriots behind the 8 ball really quick, and you see a lot of Gibson in the backfield, which does scare me for Ramondre.
Okay. Daniels over Hurts and Burrow, 6-point passing. Man, Daniels looked so good last week. Since he has. I think I would actually, and I'm considering this in my league as well. I think I'm actually looking at Burrow to be a start this week against Carolina's banged up secondary. Carolina showed they can put points up, so I don't think Cincy will be able to pull away from this game. I think I actually would. God, the rushing upside is so good with those two. It's hard to say a guy that doesn't rush. I think I'm going to go with Burrow, though. I think you could see a huge week out of Burrow with 4 or 5 touchdowns. I think I'm going to go with Burrow.
All right. So first of all, I'm taking Hurts the hell out of this lineup with A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith out this week, leaving Jahan Dotson as the number 1 wide receiver. I know Goddard should be the number 1 target, but I want no part of him this week in fantasy. So for me, it does come down to Daniels and Burrow. And listen, I don't think Burrow throws enough touchdowns to make up for the difference with Daniels rushing, because I'm thinking you'd have to have Daniels throw 1 touchdown and 3 for Burrow, which is completely possible. But again, this Commanders Cardinals has the highest line of the week at 49.5. Burrow was my initial knee-jerk reaction, Brant, just because I do think he has the best chance to go nuts behind with passing touchdowns. I just don't think he will. I think he probably throws 2, but if he throws 2 and Daniels throws 1, Daniels rushing upside puts him over. So I will, go Daniels on that one.
Okay.
Todd says, hey guys, I have Etienne and Connor starting with Walker on the bench. Should I keep it that way?
Bench Walker this week. Bench Walker, bench Charbonnet. They're both healthy. They play the number 5 rushing defense in Detroit. I don't know how the backfield's going to shape out, but this is a great chance to see how it does because they are playing such a good defense. And Walker's just coming off the injury report. I'm keeping Etienne and Connor in.
Okay. All right. I agree. I'm going to leave Walker on the bench 1 week just to let's make sure he's completely healthy this week. Make sure he doesn't like re-aggravate it early and come out. I want to see a week of him being healthy before once he's completely healthy. And I know that, and I believe it with my own eyes, he doesn't come out of my lineup. But again, Connor against the Commanders in a very high point total, and Etienne with against the Texans in a game where they're going to hit divisional matchup, and no Tank Bigsby. I believe we said no Tank Bigsby, didn't we, Brant? Or was that Tank Dell we said was out today?
Tank Dell was out.
Tank. Okay, so either way, I'm still starting. I think Bigsby's healthy. If I remember right, I went and looked at that this morning. I just don't remember what it said. But either way, I think I'm leaving Walker on the bench an additional week just to see what he does there.
Okay. Joe says he needs a running back and 2 flex in PPR. He's got Walker, Chuba, Olave, Pickens, Ayuk, and Jennings. I'm going with Ayuk and Pickens, and then Chuba's my running back. Ayuk, Pickens, and Chuba are my 3 starts.
Yeah, we're copacetic on that one too. There's not a whole lot to think about on that one. I know Olave, you probably want to play. Walker, you probably want to play. But again, Walker, I want to see it for another week. And Atlanta has one of the best secondaries in football, or at least safety pairings in football. And that scares me for Olave. And honestly, that offense came back down to earth pretty hard last week against the Eagles. So with those other options, I'm going to sit Olave. Sean says, Jaden Reed or T. Higgins in PPR, Brant?
I'm going with T. Higgins here. I as much as I love Reed this week with Love coming back, I do like T. Higgins and Joe Burrow, and I want to see that Cincinnati offense explode this week, and I think this is the week we see that explode. So I'm going to go T. Higgins.
Yep, I'll go T. Higgins as well on this one.
Justin says, Geno or Sam Darnold? Well, Darnold got a little more intriguing without Jair out there. I think I go with Geno. With that rush defense going against him and not being able to use the run game as much, I think he'll have to air the ball out. So I think I'm gonna go with Geno.
All right. I'm gonna go Sam Darnold in this one, Brant. Darnold's been having the best football of his career at this point. No Jair Alexander as well. And listen, I think Aaron Jones has a massive game this week. I think he catches a lot of passes, and I think he actually catches a touchdown pass this week from Sam Darnold in a little revenge game, goes and gets himself a Lambeau leap there up in Green Bay this week. I like Sam Darnold. I think he's must start at this point. Again, when you have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Jalen Naylor at this point, Aaron Jones catching passes out of the backfield, I don't know how you advocate to sit that. So, my God, if you looked at the quarterbacks that the New York Jets drafted and how they worked for the New York Jets, and you didn't know anything else about Geno Smith or Sam Darnold in their careers, how disgusting could this question be, Brant? I just, somebody who's a New York Jets fan who just follows the draft and then looks what they do with their team, knows nothing else about football, and they're like, that's who you want to start? Neither of them, right? But these guys are both having career resurgences at this point in their careers. So I will go Darnold over Geno by the slightest of margins.
Kevin says he has Kamara, picked up Jamal Williams since he's questionable. Should I drop Jamal for Kendre Miller if Kamara's good to go? Well, it sounds like Kamara is going to play. That just came across NFL Game Day. It does sound like him and Olave will play this week. I still think I hold Jamal. Kamara does have a tendency to get banged up and miss a game or two. So I think I would go with Jamal. I know Miller's still on the IR. So, I mean, if you could pick up Miller, put him on the IR, and then somehow sweep back around and grab Jamal and put him on your roster, that'd be fine too. But I think I stick with Jamal if I'm not able to rotate at all.
Yeah, I think I think if you have an open IR spot and you can stash Kendra, that's probably good. If not, I think you keep Jamal just because of the fact that Kendra is on the IR, and if he gets another nick in this game or something and is out next week, then you have his immediate handcuff. Tanner says Braylon Allen, Zamir White, or Roshan Johnson. Brant.
Wow. Okay. If you asked me at the beginning of the year, I'd say Zamir White, hands down. Roshan's starting to look like the best back there in Chicago because Swift looks like a waste of money. Yet Braylon Allen, just 2 or 3 touches could be the number 5 running back on the week. So this is a lot tougher than it should be. I think I'm going to go with the safest play and the guy that I know will line up at least 50% of the time in the backfield. I think I'm going to go with Zamir White.
Well, it's crazy, Brant, because Zamir White's only had over 50% of the snaps 1 out of 3 weeks to this point.
Jesus.
And last week he only had 22% of the snaps.
I'm seeing that. Wow, I really thought he was on the field more.
And they're playing the Cleveland Browns, so I actually think I'd take Zamir White out first. And I'm going to go with the one my gut tells me to go with here, Brant. I'm going Roshan Johnson. I really think he was the back to own in Chicago. I picked him up late in a lot of leagues. And I think we're starting to see him come out and look like the guy that we saw at the University of Texas. I think Braylon Allen's a lot of fun too, but again, this could be – listen, it's a revenge game for Nathaniel Hackett against the Broncos, the OC there for the Jets. I think you could see a lot of Brees Hall this week. I'm going to go Roshan Johnson here, Brant. I don't know how I feel about it necessarily because you're talking about 3 guys last week that had under 30% of their snaps for their respective teams. So I'm going to go with the one who's catching the most passes. That's Roshan Johnson right now in PPR, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to stick with that.
Okay. Pick 2, Shakir, McLaurin, or Debo, Justin asked. Shakir is one that I absolutely love, and I think I'm going to go with Terry. I expect this game to be a ball-out game between the Cardinals and the Commanders. So I think I'm going to go with McLaurin and Shakir. I think I'd like to see Debo be 100% before I'm completely comfortable over some of these. And Terry was definitely showed why he should be the best wide receiver in Washington.
Yeah, I'll stay with you on this one, Brant, and largely in part due to I think Debo will have some run today. However, they may not need a whole lot out of him against the Patriots. So this could be one where, maybe he has 2 or 3 catches for a decent amount of yards. This team scores some points, and the 49ers no longer have to rely on Debo, so they don't risk him re-injuring for more important games. So I'll go with the guys that I expect to have a full workload today in Shakir and McLaurin. Todd says he has another question. I have Hill, Amari Cooper, and Rashee Rice starting with JSN in the flex. Says he also has Trey Tucker and Lazard on my bench. Anything he should change? So for me, the question has to become at this point, Brant, do you start Trey Tucker or Lazard over Amari Cooper or Tyreek Hill? Because I think what the target share that JSN and Rice are seeing, although I know JSN's targets did dip again last week.
Don't ask me about that wide receiving core no more. I don't know what's going to go on. I thought it was going to all run through JSN. Hill and Rice stay in. Cooper, I think your starting 3 is good. I think it's do you get Trey Tucker in or Lazard in your flex? I think I go with Tucker. He could end up being the number 1 target there for wide receivers in the in Vegas. So I think I actually would try to slide Tucker into my flex. JSN's
okay.
Now that I said it though.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think I can. I like Trey Tucker. He did just come off the wide receiver 8 finish, but I don't think I can advocate for him to start over JSN. So I'm going to leave your lineup just as it sits. Again, that gives you that Monday miracle if you need it. And again, I think if you're talking about highest ceiling between JSN, Trey Tucker, and Alan Lazard, it's still going to be JSN because we've seen him have 12 plus targets. And if that happens this week, like you said, Brent, you think that run defense is going to kind of shut down that run. Geno may have to ball out. That could lead to a big day for JSN. So I'm going to say stay where you're at.
Okay. Ryan asks, Garrett Wilson, Montgomery, Walker, or White? Pick one PPR. I'm going with Garrett Wilson. I know he's going to see a lot of Patrick Surtain today, but I think I have to go with Garrett Wilson. God, Monty's been so good this year, but I think I still have to stick with Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now is Montgomery versus Garrett Wilson. David Montgomery is currently running back 9 on the season.
Yep.
Coming off 23 touches last week, or 26 total touches. But he has had a touchdown every week. Does he keep that up? Garrett Wilson, on the other hand, has been pretty consistent, but he's been consistently a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3. Patrick Surtain scares me, Brant. Let's go with Monty here for me. I'm going to take David Montgomery against your Seattle Seahawks. I don't know how that makes me feel. I think you guys have been pretty decent against the run this year. But Patrick Surtain scares the heck out of me. Especially when there is a great running game, especially when there is Alan Lazard, who's looked good. Mike Williams is back. There's no reason for them to force anything to Garrett Wilson this week. So I'm going to go David Montgomery. Bill says, I ask the same question every week. Jaden Daniels or Kyler Murray against the terrible Commanders defense? Bill, I'm going to start with this one. I think either one of these options is just fine. I don't think you go wrong with either one of these guys right now. I think there is slightly more rushing upside on the Jaden Daniels side, whereas I think there's slightly better passing upside on the Kyler Murray side of the ball. So it's a coin flip for me. I don't have a discrepancy here. Whichever one your gut tells you to go with, I think you're fine on.
Yeah, I'm absolutely the same here. That's a beautiful question to ask every week. Both these guys are going to finish as top 10 wide receivers, top 10 quarterbacks this year. So it's an amazing question to ask. I don't know their bye weeks, but I really hope they don't share it because then you won't have to ask it at least 2 weeks in a 16-week season. I like Daniels. I like Murray. Both are going to hang probably 20 points plus this week, so I don't think you can go wrong.
Agreed.
Jennifer asks, London, Ford, Shaheed, or Addison? You got to go with London, right? London's been spectacular lately. That offense is starting to click. I think I go with London.
Brant, oddly enough, I took Drake London out of my starting lineup this week in favor of Brian Robinson. Not that I don't think Drake's capable of having a good week. I just think Brian Robinson was a better start for me personally. But over this group, for me, it's between London and Ford. Quick research. Max Crosby's doubtful to play this week.
I did see that right after we talked about it earlier.
Give me Jerome Ford, Brant. I don't necessarily love it. It's just, listen, as a Falcons fan, I'm so scorned by this passing game in years past, right? Like if I want to get myself hyped up about the passing game, I got to go back and watch Matt Ryan film or highlights, I guess. And so for that reason, I'm going to go Ford because I feel like if I bet against my Falcons, they'll look good. So I'm going to go Ford over London, Brant.
Okay.
All right, we have the Fantasy Holics team updating us here. Texans running back Joe Mixon listed as questionable for today due to a sprained ankle is out versus the Jaguars. Another week of Cam Akers leading the way.
Okay. Kyle asks, Andrews likely or Parkinson? I almost came out with a name right away, and then I had to regurgitate it. Oh, man. Why is it so hard? I am going to go with Andrews. That's gut here. It's a lot of gut. It's just I'm going to go with Andrews.
Coming off of a 1 target, 0 reception week.
I guess Mixon's out of the question that I just asked. I posted a question here, and I'm going to go with Andrews.
Likely only had 1 target last week as well. Oh my!
Toby might be the safest bet.
He had 5 targets last week, played 100% of the snaps. And that's against one of the best defenses against the tight end in football last week against the 49ers. Give me Colby Parkinson. God, who'd have thunk? But I just can't. Mark Andrews is so talented, but without him being a focal point of that offense, I just don't think he's relevant.
Okay.
It's Parkinson for me. Kevin's follows up from earlier when he was talking about the Jamal Williams, Kendra Miller situation. He's got Jonathan Brooks and Hawkinson on his IR, so I don't think you move either of those two to get Kendra Miller. So we'll keep Jamal Williams.
Okay. PPR, Rob says I can play 2 of these guys: Olave, Myers, Kelsey, Shaheed, Kirk. I'm also starting Goddard at tight end. Goddard's a great tight end start this week. Gosh, Kobe could have a great week. Kelsey's been all year. I think I'm going to say Kelsey, just because you never know with him. It's hard to bench your 3rd, 4th round draft pick. So I think I'm going to go with Kelsey. I think I'm going to go with Christian Kirk here. They play. Who do they play? They play Houston in a game that could end up with a lot of throwing there to keep the game close. I think I'm going to go with Kirk. I think I'm going to go with Kirk and Kelsey.
In this situation, I will go Olave and Kirk. I think these are 2 of the higher ceiling plays in this one. Those are guys that I think could have the higher targets here. The problem with Travis Kelce right now is there's a Rashee Rice situation in Kansas City who's running a lot of the same routes that Kelce has ran and been successful in years past. They even talked about how Rice is on these plays where he's supposed to run a certain route. He's doing that thing that Kelce used to do where he just sees the coverage developing around him and he just sits in vacant space. And Patrick Mahomes is looking his way every play. So I can't start Travis Kelce right now. I just can't advocate for him. I'm going to go Olave and Kirk, Brant.
Okay.
Jennifer says Ford, James Cook, or Shaheed, pick one.
I think I have to go with James Cook here. He's been solid all year. He's been the best running back there in Buffalo. I know we saw a good dose of Ray Davis last week, but I think I'm going to go with James Cook.
Yeah, I'm keeping James Cook in my lineup at all costs right now. He's in your lineup, deserves to be there. Set it and forget it.
Michael asked J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers, or Roschon Johnson. Pick 2. Well, I'm going to go with Dobbins and Akers here. I'm still not sure about that Chicago run game, so I'm going to go with Dobbins and Akers.
Yeah, I'll go the same, even though I think it's ultimately going to be Roschon Johnson at some point. Akers should get the lion's share in Houston, and Dobbins has looked great to this point. So I'll go with those first 2 as well there, Brant. Jennifer says, need one running back and 1 flex. Chase Brown, Alexander Madison, Emmanuel Wilson, Brian Thomas Jr., Greg Dortch, or Juwan Jennings.
1 running back. So you got Chase Brown, Emmanuel Wilson there as and Madison as your running backs. So I was just looking. We were talking about Zamir White last week with 22% of his touches or backfield, and Madison only had 44. Where is the rest of the running back? Do we just run no running backs, no running back formations all game? So I don't know where the rest of the snaps are for the running back. I think I'm going to go with Chase Brown as my running back. I think I'm going to go with this is a tough one here. Brown, I'm for sure, I think, starting as my running back. And I think I'll go with BTJ. How's he been this year? I just haven't heard much about him.
He's been all right. He's been one of Trevor's favorite targets this year.
Okay. So I'll go with BTJ.
9 targets last week.
Yeah, I'll go with BTJ and Chase Brown there.
Yeah, well, I'm copacetic on that again. Chase Brown and BTJ. If I got a chance to start a running back against the Panthers, I'm going to find a way to do that at this point. So, again, copacetic for the two of us there.
Okay.
Now look at this. Now you got to read your own question here.
Fatboy Brent here asking Joe Mixon. He's out. Mostert, Dobbins, or Walker? What do you guys think? I was kind of putting it out there for the fans to decide and help me out here. I'm not sure who to go with in these three. I think Mostert's probably out of it too, since he hasn't done anything this year or probably played this year.
Okay, we'll see if we can get you some responses to that question in the chat. If you want to help the Fatboy Brand out, go ahead and put your answer in the chat. Again, the Fantasy Holics team coming at us saying both Olave and Kamara are good to go today per Nick Underhill. So there you have it. If you were teetering on playing those guys due to injuries, there you have that one, Brant. Kyle says, need to bench one, undecided. Michael Pittman, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, Christian Kirk, Amari Cooper, and Jerome Ford. Who do you sit out of that list?
Michael Pittman. That's not lived up to the hype with Anthony Richardson. He's not really the guy that sees a whole lot. I mean, yeah, he's had 8, 7, and 5 targets, but his receptions are 4, 3, and 4. I think I have to sit Pittman in this lineup.
Yeah, I'm sitting Pittman as well. And I think the biggest part of it is, one, the targets haven't been there. Anthony Richardson hasn't looked that great, and he's going to face the toughest defense he's played all season in the Pittsburgh Steelers today. I think this game's going to be an absolute run fest in Indy. So for that reason, I'm going to say sit Michael Pittman as well. DK has balled out a couple of times this year. Scary Terry is coming off of his best game of the season. Christian Kirk is Christian Kirk. Amari Cooper's coming off of a great week. And Jerome Ford, I think, is a guy you have to play against that banged up Vegas Raiders front seven. So Pittman's the odd man out. I don't know as though I would have thought that coming into the season that we'd be saying that about Pittman, but it's just not looking great for the pass catchers in Indy at this point, Brant.
Absolutely.
All right, so we got a quick moment here. Let's go through our underdog promos of the week, Brant, if you're ready to do so.
Absolutely. I got them pulled up and I am ready.
All right. All right, Brant, take us through your underdog plays of the week.
Well, I took my free square of Patrick Mahomes to have more than one, or higher than 1 total yard. I definitely got that. So I took my free square. And then, Kyle, I want to say thank you for the perfect leeway into my first play is Michael Pittman lower than 48.5 receiving yards. He has not topped it at all this year. And once again, he's playing the toughest defense they've played all year. So I'm going to go with Pittman lower than 48.5 receiving yards. Mike Williams higher than 29.5 receiving yards for the Jets. He could do this in one play. We've seen him take bombs. Surtain's going to shadow Garrett Wilson, so it'll be, a kind of battle there. So I think Mike Williams will go higher than 29.5 receiving yards. Jaden Reed going higher than 49.5 receiving yards. He averages 80-some yards a game with Jordan Love. So I expect Reed to have another good game. And then my last play is George Pickens. We have talked about it. Higher than 53.5 receiving yards there for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, I think Pickens might be one of my favorite on your list, Brant, just because, like I said, the first read options for the Colts they're getting burned on that so often that it's a must start. For me, I've got Aaron Jones higher than 60.5 rushing yards in a revenge game against the Green Bay Packers. I've got Bijan Robinson to go over 24.5 or higher than 24.5 receiving yards in this divisional matchup against the New Orleans Saints. I think the Saints are going to try to put pressure on Kirk Cousins. How do you beat that pressure? You get it to your running back on screens and quick dump offs in the flat. I've got Brenton Strange, Brant, higher than 2.5 receptions. We talked about him a little bit on this show. He's one of my tight end plays of the week this week. This one's not one I thought I'd utter much here. Kyron Williams higher than 79.5 rushing yards. Listen, I'm going to take every running back that plays against the Bears this year until the Bears defense can show me they can stop a running back. Last week, I talked about this in depth with Jonathan Taylor against the Bears defense because they're giving up over 5 yards per carry to the running back position. I think that keeps up this week with Kyron Williams. And then I'm actually, speaking of Jonathan Taylor, Brant, I'm taking Jonathan Taylor under 91.5 total yards between rushing and receiving. I think he's gone well over that the last 2 weeks. Week 1, he was under it. I still think he has a successful day because I think he finds the end zone. But I think the Steelers defense tries to make Anthony Richardson beat them with his arm. I think they take away from the pass catching game or the rushing game with Jonathan Taylor this week, Brant.
Absolutely. I like those.
All right. We've got some questions coming back in here. Michael says Wan'Dale Robinson or Chris Olave. If you can get in a time machine and go back to start Wan'Dale Robinson, I think you absolutely do that. He balled out this week. But since you cannot do that, it's Chris Olave.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dickie asks, Miami's defense or stick with the Vikings? Miami has the Tennessee Titans. I think I actually would probably go Miami here. It's a low-scoring game is what the over-under is. Will Levis is guaranteed to throw a couple picks. Jordan Love coming back, playing the Vikings. I think I go with Miami's defense.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I know Minnesota's defense is number 1 for fantasy right now, but anybody who's playing against Will Levis, I think you got to get that into the contest. So there's that. We already got that answered. Derek says Jared Goff or Baker Mayfield this week, Brant. So you've got the Buccaneers against the Eagles or the Detroit Lions against your Seahawks Monday night.
I don't know if you go wrong with either one. Both are going to be, firing the ball down the field this week. I think that they're both going to be high-scoring games. I think I actually go with Baker this week just because he's been so good lately. I think I would ride that hot hand against Philly, and Philly's defense is as long as he can get the ball out, he'll be fine because that pass rush is going to be a little rough there in Philly. But as long as Baker gets the ball out to a slot, I think he's going to have a better week.
Give me Jared Goff. Just because of Jamison Williams, give me Jared Goff. I'll let that be the decision maker there for me.
Okay. I'm not going to try the second name, but Matt asked Jamison Williams or Andre. Sure. I'm going to go with J-Mo here. I think it's going to be a rough game or a high-scoring game with Jamison Williams there in Detroit against Seattle. So I'm going to go with J-Mo.
Okay.
Well, why don't you try it? Why don't you try it?
It was your question, Brant.
Yeah.
Here we go. Charlie says, "Hi, Coach Walker from Ava." That must be one of the basketball players there.
Yes, it is. Hi, Ava. You want to hear her name on Facebook, I guess.
Betsy says, "Flex one: Jennings, Debo, Moss, or Najee."
Najee.
Yeah,
there's no Warren this week. Najee is, in my mind, a must start this week.
Yep, I agree. No Warren equals Najee must start.
Jumbo's got his picks in here for the underdog. He's got DJ Moore higher than 49.5 receiving yard. Kirk Cousins higher than 189 passing yards. Godwin higher than 49.5 receiving yards. And he's got that free square with Patrick Mahomes.
Yep, absolutely. There we have it.
Thank you, Jumbo.
Elliot says, "Morning, guys. We starting Love or Goff this week, Brant? You want to wait and see a week on Love, or are you going right back into the fire with him?"
I think he's going to have a very good week. I don't think they would have rushed him back with how well Willis has played. So I think he's healthy, but I am going to wait and see how it looks because I think Goff will be very serviceable this week. So I'm going to go with Goff.
Okay, I agree.
Matt, once again, he asked Andrews or Tucker. I'm going with Andrews. Like I said, this is just a gut feeling this week. I have nothing to back up because if I look behind me, it's one target. So I'm going to go with Andrews this week. It's all a gut feeling. I can't really give you anything to back it
up. Yeah, and picking Tucker Kraft isn't really fair either because you don't really genuinely know what that's going to look like with it being Love's first game back. I mean, Tucker Kraft's had 3, 2, and 3 targets. So I guess based on, gut feeling, I'd rather go Andrews than Tucker here. But, man, it's so hard to start Andrews. He's done nothing this year. I mean, he's been nothing. Okay, gross. Paul says, morning, guys. I got a defense question. Miami versus Tennessee offense or Raiders versus Cleveland offense? And this is a two-part question. So we're going to start with that first one, Brant. Raiders are out for me with no Max Crosby. That's the difference maker. And if he's not playing, I want no part of that Raiders defense. I will take Miami versus my brain is not
Tennessee.
Will Levis. Thank you. There we go. Will Levis, who's throwing cupcake turnovers every single week to opposing defenses. So I will go Miami in that part of it.
I actually just switched that out in our league because I did have the Raiders, and now that Crosby's out, yes, your notification is me picking up the Tennessee Titans against Miami. So I actually am switching the Raiders out. That's the best defense I got is the option in my mind is Tennessee. So, but I am going to go with Miami. I think this is going to end up being a low-scoring game and an ugly turnover fest with Will Levis and Tyler Huntley. So I'm going to go with Miami over the Raiders.
Okay, the second part of this question is Tony Pollard or Brian Robinson Jr. for running back 2 with Breeze Hall as the running back 1.
I'm going with B-Rob. I love him this year. He's seeing multiple targets. He's running the ball well. I'm going with B-Rob, and I have not looked. Eckler was already ruled out for today, was he not?
He's out. Get him out of there.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm going with B-Rob.
B-Rob it is. In agreement on that one as well.
Okay. Jennifer asked Rashad White, Mooney, Waddle, or Mostert. Not really trusting any Miami players. You are right here. It's really like A-Chain and Hill are the best 2 to start in that offense. I wouldn't try to touch anything else. Mooney has been so good this year for the Falcons. I believe he's seen 5+ targets in every game. Mooney has low key been really good for the Falcons. I think obviously we take week 1 out where your offense looked like doo-doo. He's seen 7 and 8 targets, 93 and 100% of the snaps, 21 and 16 fantasy points. Give me Mooney to be starting in there.
Mooney over Waddle. Who'd have thunk that one either, Brant? But I'm going to agree with you on this one.
Yeah.
Mike says Jalen Waddle or Jamison Williams in the flex, Brant.
I'm going to go JMO here. I like JMO over Waddle. I don't trust anything in Miami. Like I said, A-Chain and Hill are about the only 2 things that I like in Miami this week.
Give me JMO. I want to see a week of Tyler Huntley. I do think it'll be better than what we saw out of Skylar Thompson last week. But until I see that come to fruition, I'd rather start Jamison Williams with his starting quarterback and Jared Goff. Betsy says, what are we thinking about Debo? Is he a decoy? She says, I have Jennings if I need him.
If Debo plays, I don't know how I feel about Jennings because I don't think he'll be a decoy. Now, Debo could end up lining up in the backfield quite a bit too with CMC being out and everything. If he is 100%, I don't think he'll be just a decoy. I think if he's active, I think he'll be ready to play.
Yeah, so this is a catch-22 for me because if Debo plays, Jennings is downgraded to next to nothing in my eyes. However, if Debo plays, I could 100% see him being a decoy against this Niners or this Patriots defense. They may not need him much. it could be one of those contests where you see a lot of Ayuk and a lot of that run game. Jordan Mason's looked great in CMC's absence. I don't know how I feel about it, but yeah, if Debo plays, I don't like Jennings at all.
All right, Matthew asked Jameson Williams or T. Higgins over Garrett Wilson this week. Yeah, that coverage for Surtain is definitely spooky. I think I'm going to go with T. Higgins. I think I go with T. Higgins this week.
We're in agreement on that one again, Brant. I think the targets will be there for T, whereas Jameson Williams got to do what he does in like 4 or 5 targets usually. T. Higgins should have, a decent amount. Garrett Wilson, I still think gets some work this week. I just don't think it's enough to make me comfortable to start him over or playing with Surtain when I have options like T. Higgins. All right, Brant, let's get through these touchdown scorer plays this week. Who do you have finding pay dirt this week?
Najee, no Jalen Warren. I think Najee Harris finds the end zone. I think Tua Hubbard finds the end zone as well. I like him to find it for Carolina. Scary Terry there in Washington to find it. I expect that to be a high-scoring, fun game to watch. And then you spoke of it earlier. I think Aaron Jones finds the end zone and gets himself a little Lambeau leap in his homecoming.
Okay, I like those, Brant. I've got Brian Robinson Jr. to find the end zone this week with no Austin Eckler. Saquon Barkley being the focal point of the Eagles' offense. Jonathan Taylor, I spoke of earlier. I think he finds the end zone, even though he has a semi-quiet day rushing the ball against the Steelers' defense. And then my big play of the week, Brant, I've got Brenton Strange to find the end zone for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think he ends up being a go-to target in the red zone for Trevor Lawrence this week. I look for him to find the end zone.
Okay.
All right, Brant, take me through what you're dining on this week for football.
So don't tell anybody yet, but we're picking up Chipotle after we run to the store to get the stuff for dinner. So I'll have Chipotle for the noon slate. Just don't tell nobody yet. My family doesn't know. And then it's chili for dinner. It's chili for dinner, chili and cornbread. I love this time of year. It's starting to get a little cooler here. Probably should close the pool. But it's chili and cornbread for dinner tonight.
I'm really glad you have the day off of work tomorrow, so I don't have to smell you after a night of eating chili. Yeah, I think it's going to be real simple in the Finley household this week. I think we're doing pizzas for lunch, and then I believe we're doing some burgers for dinner. I think I'm going to whip the Blackstone out and grill up some burgers. Just have some, just a old fashioned classic burger and fries for dinner. So nothing special this week for us. No chili, so I won't stink. I mean, I won't stink any more than usual tomorrow. But there you go. So again, guys, I know we're winding down on time here. We got about 2 minutes left. If anybody has any last minute questions, but again, if you don't get them in time with us, or you have something that you're like, oh, I wish I would have asked that, or maybe something comes across your ticker and you see a player out that you are questionable or dealing with an agony injury, and all of a sudden you have another question, don't hesitate to go jump on the page. Patrick's going to have a live start sit for the next hour for the page, so don't hesitate to go ask a question to Patrick. Or if you don't want to be on the live, maybe you don't want to see your question read by us or Patrick, go throw it on the start sits on the page, and see what can get said to you there. Maybe again, those guys are super responsive on that start sit on the page, so we will get your questions answered all day long on that page. So don't hesitate to reach over to Fantasyholics and ask.
Absolutely. Jessica asked, should I play Love? I'd like to see what your other options are. I do trust Love this week. I think he's back to health in Green Bay. Did just fine with Willis, so I don't think they would have rushed him back. So if he's your best option, absolutely, I would feel comfortable starting him.
Yeah, I agree. If he's your best option, you play him. There's plenty of weapons in Green Bay that make him, a must start when he's healthy. So I have no problems with Love. Again, like Brant alluded to, if there's a better option on your roster potentially, then maybe that'd be something worth looking at. But I'd play Love with confidence if he's your best option.
Okay.
Dylan asks, Jerome Ford or Ramondre Stevenson this week, Brant? We've answered this one earlier, and you went Stevenson, I went Ford. Are you still feeling the same way on that?
I'm still going to stick with Stevenson.
Yep, I'm still staying forward against that banged up Raiders defense. So Brant is on Stevenson. I am on Jerome Ford this week. So there you have it. All right, that pretty well wraps us up and takes us out to our time limit for today's show. Thanks for being with us again this week, guys. We'll be here again next week. And as we come next week, we will have live football to discuss too, as we're playing with our first overseas game. So make sure you guys are here tuning in again, 10 a.m. Eastern, or not, 10 a.m. Eastern time, 9 a.m. Central next week as well.
Absolutely. And as always, stay hungry
and stay fat, my friends.